Hello, viewer. Thank you for joining us on a lovely day like today. Welcome to the Baroness. It's a bright, sunny day. And like always, we come with so much brightness and goodness. I am Anita Malum, but I'm not alone. As always on the Baroness, we are a team, a very formidable team, one that you should make sure that you are associated with. I have Bait Manyam, who is right next to me, and it's so good to be here with you, Bait, on another lovely day.
Yeah, consider it again. The day is lovely. Yeah, you choose to make it so. No matter what you hear, no matter what goes on around, you can make your day to be lovely. That is what we have chosen to do. Mm-hmm. It isn't because there's nothing wrong going around, but we have chosen that is a lovely day, and we want to share that with you. Make this day a lovely day because we are here and you are tuned to the Baroness. Good to have you join us.
Of course, making the day lovely should be your priority. We are also flanked by this lovely young lady. Call her the baby of the Baroness. Karen Lucas.
Yes, you know, one thing I love about being on set is the fact that every day brings interesting topics, interesting insights on life, about everything you can positively imagine. We talk about on the Baroness. If you've noticed, or you've been noticing on the plateau, the weather is a bit hot, but people seem to be going down with cold. It just tells you that be careful, stay off excessively cold drinks. Cold things that might give you a cold during this weather. Don't be deceived by the heat. Yes, just take care of yourself and try to cover your nose, especially when you're on public transit, to protect yourself against dust. Yes.
Very, very harmful dust and particles in the air. And expose yourself minimally, especially children. You know, we get tempted when the place is hot and we're like, I'm feeling so hot, and you expose yourself. And early hours of the morning, it gets pretty cold, and you might just be putting yourself and your health in danger, which was what we're talking about last week. You know, healthy food and healthy lifestyle. We hope that you were able to adapt, and we hope that you have started changing those lifestyles that are unhealthy, and you have stopped indulging in those foods that are unhealthy, because we brought you the healthy way to live a good life.
You know, one thing is that stood out was the fact that if you don't make it a lifestyle, you find it very difficult to introduce it when you are old, when life now demands of you, from you to do it. And that is why it's very important that you start early, if possible. Introduce your children to healthy way of eating, healthy way of living. So when they grow old and age begins to demand certain way of life, it wouldn't be strange. It will just be a walk in the park, as they say.
And you know, when people argue that they cannot eat healthily because everything is expensive, it just bears to mind the fact that you can eat healthily on a budget. On the plateau, we grow a lot of these vegetables, a lot of these crops, and they are relatively cheap compared to other states. So it's about planning what you eat: breakfast, lunch, and supper. You know this popular quote, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a king, and then supper like a pauper. I think that just sums everything up.
Even though it may not be the time, but someone has argued, in fact, historically, meals were not eaten 3 times a day. Meals were eaten once, at most twice, because they took a lot of liquids those days, more than just sit down to eat. And I learned it was these people, manufacturers, beverage manufacturers, that introduce breakfast. They tell you, take Golden Morn in the morning, take cornflakes in the morning with milk, and this and that, and make it very sumptuous. And today it has become a routine that we take 3 meals a day. Anyway, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, your body can adjust.
Sure.
If the body does not want to adjust, the economy will make the body adjust.
It is already making it like this. It's already not like you.
One thing for sure, you just need to eat well.
Sure.
Whether it is 101 or 011 or
001
or 010. Make sure that the one that you eat is very balanced and has all the food categories in it. it. You know, the vegetables, the carbohydrate, the starch, and everything as much as possible. Remember, we have always told you on the Baroness that it's possible for you to live a very good lifestyle. All you need to do is make the right choices. Affordable food on a very good budget, yes, it is very possible. On this program, someone had given us a breakdown of how to prepare a sumptuous meal with 2,000 naira. In fact, by the time he broke it down, we did not exhaust that 2,000 naira. On this show, including protein. Yeah, animal protein was part of it. So it is very, very possible. But you know, sometimes you need to be taught how these things are done. It's not rocket science. Some people have tried it and they've perfected the formula. But some of us have not tried it. We have not perfected the formula, and so we think it is very difficult. But everything starts with the knowledge that somebody has. Which brings us to the topic for today. Everybody has been impacted one way or another by somebody, from home, from the society, from the classroom, and it is so true. You might say, nobody has impacted me. Somebody has impacted you, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. Your life is a product of someone else's impartation, someone showing you the way, someone's guidance. And so, how we can better the lives of those people by accelerating teachers' education on the plateau is the topic of discuss on the Baroness. And of course, Kian will do us the honors of introducing our guest.
Our special guest on the Baroness today is a teacher, Federal Government College, Jos, and she also happens to be a Fulbright exchange educator, DINAH, SIMI, PAM. It's a pleasure to have you on the Baroness.
Hi, good morning. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really excited to share the insights from my program.
We're equally excited to have you here. You know, when I was introducing you, the whole Fulbright exchange educator and all that, alongside being a teacher, could you expatiate more on that? So what exactly do you do?
Okay, maybe I should start by explaining what Fulbright is about. After the Second World War, there was disunity, no understanding, and a serving senator then, by the surname Fulbright, saw the need to bring countries together, and he felt that one way to achieve that is to bring teachers from various countries to the U.S. to come together and learn and exchange culture and exchange strategies, so that when they go back to their various countries, they will improve the quality of education to solve the issue that led to the war. And that was how Fulbright program came to be. And it's something that has been happening for years. There are different packages, and the one I went for in the U.S. this year, January 21st to March 12th, is the one for teachers for 6 weeks. So it was a program that afforded me the opportunity to go to the U.S. for 6 weeks to meet with other teachers from 21 different countries to exchange ideas, to learn about their culture, the American culture, and their innovative ways of teaching, so that when I get back to my country, I will impact this knowledge to improve the quality of education.
You know, this is quite interesting. What you're talking about just takes my mind back to the reason why NYSC, you know, the National Youth Service Corps, was established, you know, years ago. You know, it's something similar to reintegrate, and that happened after the war, after the civil war in Nigeria. You know, reintegrating people, taking you to places so you study their culture, so you understand their lifestyle, and help to foster peace. Because if you have a better understanding of what other people do, it will help you. But you know, you are a teacher of the Federal Government College, and the Federal Government College brings students from everywhere. It's also like an exchange program, you know, bringing children from all over Nigeria to different schools. How has it been for you in a federal school which houses children from all over Nigeria? How has it been, their interaction? How have you seen their interaction and their ability to assimilate and to settle down in this environment that we're in?
Actually, going for that Fulbright opened my eyes to, I've been teaching for 15 years. using the knowledge I've gathered, but going for this Fulbright has opened my eyes to help my students better, because just like you have said, these students come from various backgrounds. Yeah. And in Plateau State especially, when we talk about religion, we know what religion is. And in my school, we have Christians, we have Muslims, and we have different religions. We've always had this issue of sometimes you see the students keeping to themselves because of their background, because they feel these are Christians, these are Muslims. But going for this program has helped me to learn different methods that I will help my students to work together. We learned about team teaching. We learned about collaborative teaching, where we put the students together to discuss, to do projects together. That way they get to learn that they're actually human before whatever differences that they have. So this has helped me going forward to integrate, to understand the culture, the background these students are coming from, not to look at it like a normal thing, but to seek for ways to help the students to integrate better.
Did you discover something about Nigerian education system that you seem to like you seem to like, that you shared with those you met out there during the program, since you were exchanging ideas? What was it about the education system of Nigeria that was good that you shared with them?
Thank you for that beautiful question. Actually, before we left, we were asked to prepare, because we were not just going to go and learn the American culture, we were also going to share about our own various cultures. So we had two presentations. One for our colleagues that came from various countries. Then another exchange cultural presentation was done in a secondary school. We had something like a teaching practice where we were going to a particular school. We were posted to different schools, and we stayed there 6 days to interact with the students, to get to learn, see their education system. And I shared, I had different slides about Nigeria as a country, Plateau State, our food, and our education system. And I played a video of our school, because I made a video of our school. And I told them that our school is a boarding school. And they were like, what do I mean boarding school? They are not used to boarding school. They were like, I should explain. They don't understand. I told them boarding school is a school where you have the students stay on campus and then they learn. That takes us to our culture. In Nigeria, we have this communal life. Yes, so we do things together. Unlike their culture, where they are individualistic, that is why I was not surprised when they were struggling to understand what I meant by boarding school. They are more of, they're just, they're individualistic. That means it's just about them, and they are not extended like the way we are. So one thing I really appreciate about our culture is the fact that we are communal, and by that we have strong support system. Yes, so you discover that when you are doing an occasion, you don't do it alone. Your parents come in, in-laws come in, friends come in, and we do things together, which makes life easier and more fun.
Okay.
But did they discover? Did they say anything? Did they find faults in that system, or you, by interacting with them and discovering their system, did you find anything that we could improve on? Because I don't think it's wrong. The boarding system is not wrong. But is there anything that you discover that, based on what you saw, that individualistic thing, did you see anything that we could use to improve on our system?
Yes. Yes. You know, there is no perfect system. Everything has advantage and then disadvantage, if you look at it very well. I noticed that they are being individualistic help them to be critical thinkers. When you know you don't have to rely on the support of an uncle and aunt, it makes it to be independent. So you discover that, you know, in their culture, they have this freedom. The Americans believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So you see young people express themselves because they don't have to wait for their parents to speak for them. They don't have to wait for a teacher to do something for them. You know, it helps them to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, and then they are always struggling. In fact, at secondary school, they're already working. Yes. I interacted with a parent. She said that, yes, we give our son this car. He's driving to school, but he has to work to get the fuel that he will fill the car, the money he will fill the car. Then coming to us, sorry to say, but sometimes you see somebody over 30, 40, depending on his parents. In the meanwhile, you don't want to leave the family. You see, so that's an advantage, actually.
In terms of curriculum, you know, people have argued that we are a bit backwards when it comes to what we teach our children in school. Now, you have had opportunity to interact with people from various parts of the world. Is that true, or have we caught up, or can we catch up with them?
Actually, everything is possible if there is a way. They say that when there is a will, there will be a way. We have beautiful educational policies.
Okay.
The issue, the problem we have is the implementation. Our curriculum, we are aware. Right now, if you look at our curriculum, where the government is introducing entrepreneur because of the issue of unemployment. But the way we are handling the policy or the entrepreneur is the problem. You introduce a course like garment making in school. Can these students make garments? Or we only teach them to pass exam? So the problem with our education system or our curriculum is that we are teaching it for example, so that we say, oh, my son has this score in JAM, this score in this grade in WAEC, how produce. While in their own education system, they are after the skill. They are after the skill that this child can produce. So when they are doing a garment, they ensure that these students can actually have garments. If they are doing painting, these children can paint. If they are doing metal work, these children can produce things with metal. While here, we are more of the theory. We are not really practical. That is the issue that we have. And I believe it's possible. If we put in more effort and we try to bridge the gap, if those people that are making the policies will work hand in hand with the implementers of the policy, which are the teachers. Because most times I discover that there's a gap. These teachers don't really understand what the government wants. They in the office don't even understand the reality in the classroom. They make policies and they don't provide the resources, the materials, no training. The fact that I'm teaching home economy does not mean that I'm good at garment making. If you're introducing that course, then there should be special training for me to equip me to be able to help my students produce a garment. And I feel that there are some courses that we don't need to write in theory form. For example, if we're doing courses like something on technology, why do I have to write on paper? I should produce that thing. I should fabricate that thing. If it is construction, I should construct something instead of just paperwork, and then at the end of the day, a child has A1 in electrical science or whatever, and then he cannot fix simple electrical fault.
We have a technical school.
Before we even go to that technical school,
Yes.
growing up, I remember in secondary school, we had some of these courses that you're talking about, and we had workshops, we had practical classes. Most of the time, these kind of classes were hands-on, and you were expected to make something. Like if you're a student of home economics or you were doing food and nutrition, it's expected that you should be able to cook good food.
Exactly.
You should be able to produce food for sick people, food for people on special diets. You should be able to come up with a meal plan, and if you should understand table setting and all that. We were taught that in secondary school, and that was just some years ago, about 30-something years ago. But thinking about it, what happened? If you're doing needlework and you're in secondary school, you should be able to sew.
Yes.
Because we had we had sewing machines, we had those centers in the school. So what happened? Where did we lose it? Because this is not new. We've had these things. We've always had them. Most of us learned them in school.
What I was trying to say, Anita, is the fact that we have technical schools, so we actually know that there's a technical aspect to education, there's a practical aspect to education, but then we now created the school differently. You set up the school, we specialize the school instead of integrating. Do you think that integrating this specialized system of education into the normal system, I will say, the regular system, will help people, will help the school to now come up with the practical aspect of education? People thinking, like bringing out what they have learned, in practical terms.
Okay, to start with Anita's question, talking about what happened. I think, I don't want to say corruption, but that seems to be the word coming right now. Because it's not as if we don't know what to do. But if you look at it, As a teacher, I go to my school and tell them that I want to take the students on this excursion so that they can see this thing in practical. I want to do this hands-on practical thing, teaching with them. What you will hear is there is no money. There is no money. So what do we do? What is bringing the lack of money? Is that the government is in government school? Is that the government is not giving money, or is it the school that is not managing the money? So there is corruption somewhere. I don't want to blame anyone.
But has the curriculum changed? Has the curriculum changed? Because if it is the same school and we used to have it, then has the curriculum changed?
When you talk about no money, there are schools that charge exorbitantly, and yet we don't see anything come out of the children either, apart from the theoretical knowledge that they have, and they get all the A's at the end of the WAEC, get all the B's and a distinction.
No skill.
And no skill. They come back home and sit. If for any reason they lose admission for that academic year, they sit at home. And all they do will be to sit in the parlor, watching TV and on their phones, pressing phones, and the rest of them. So, where is it? Where are we missing it?
I think that still boils down to the issue of corruption, because there is no strong will to make things happen. We are aware that this is what we are supposed to do. Looking at our society, looking at the number of people that we graduate every year without employment, and then all we do is to bring out policy. I remember in a certain university in this country, entrepreneur was introduced in a university because of when the government sat down and looked at the fact that many graduates come back home without jobs. They introduced the program Entrepreneur, but surprisingly, no skill was taught. No business strategy was taught. Rather, it was a means of getting money for the school. So, this is corruption. And for how long do we continue like this? I think we need to have a stronger willpower to make a difference. Maybe when we have the right people manning the right positions, things will get better.
Yeah, let's talk about integration now. Like she wanted to, she meant, of course, it's part of it. That is integration. At primary school level, the curriculum is, I suppose, even at primary school level. I am not too old to say that in my days. You understand? To say in my days. But then the truth is, in my days. Now,
these things, and we're using them today.
Primary school, my art project was to make design on a pillowcase. I didn't sew the pillowcase, but they will sew the pillowcase, make design on it, get an artist to make, and then I make the embroidery. And I made embroidery for 2 pillowcases and headrest. You know, in those days, you have headrest on cushions in the parlor and the rest of them. I made a set of it, and the crochet work was learned. Like, if you come around and as a girl, then as a girl, if you're not doing something with your hand, playing around, crocheting,
even making mufflers,
work, exactly. Mufflers, my brothers did mufflers. The boys did mufflers, because the mufflers you had to use the wood and put some nails, so it was looking like a hard thing to do for girls, but the boys now did that. So and it was a public school. I went to a public school. So,
and these are materials that you make on your own.
With the tie and dye, batik, all of these
exactly.
things.
I know that parents can afford some of these things. If only they're asked to yes. But presently, the food and nutrition subjects that 2 of my children are offering in the secondary school right now, they only do the practical when it is exam time.
That is the problem.
Nothing happens in between time. It's only exams. But we were expecting that the fees would have covered the nitty-gritties of the small things that would be produced for them to see with their eyes. I mean,
that's why I was asking, has the curriculum changed? Because for us,
I appreciate what Beyitma just said. I appreciate that you're an intentional parent. I think another problem is the fact that we don't really have intentional parents. We always want to relegate our duties to teachers, because I expect that when your child is taking a particular course, if for any reason the child is not giving hands-on experience, what is PTA meant for? It's for things like that. But most times when we go, we only want to exchange
reduce school fees and
exactly. And we know that the reality is that these things have to happen if we want the best for our children. We just have to sacrifice. We don't have to leave everything for the government. Going to the US, there was this school we visited. It's a school that is like a public school, and there's a word they call it. They call it at-risk school. That means it's a school that you don't find the high and mighty there. The students are from average homes, and they have this plan. They have agriculture section, and then they have the culinary section, where students go in to learn skills to prepare them for higher education or life skill, whatever they decide to do after secondary school. And then from like the agricultural section, each student had an animal that he or she was rearing based on your interest, based on the child's interest. And I asked them, since it was a public school, I asked them, how do you ensure that these students have these animals? Because it's a public school. And then even though education there is free, but some of these things they have to go extra mile to get them, They told me that their parents support, family support, and then these students can actually access loan too. So I think we need to be more intentional. If we really want these things to happen, parents should sacrifice. We're paying school fees. We should ensure that our students, well, maybe because we're more concerned about the grades. That is why we've not seen the need to even look at the skills. We don't care what the students, sometimes simple things that our students can do at home, we rather ask people to do. And then our students are in SS3. They're the best in home economics, they're the best in metal work, they're the best in electrical science. So we need to be more intentional and then sacrifice. And these are the issues that we should bring up during PTA meeting rather than the trivial issues we are pursuing.
So what was baby, just hold on that thought. All right. We're on a very quick break. This discussion is getting quite interesting, for those of us that are parents. Well, some of us are lucky that our children were able to get into schools where some of these things she's talking about are being practiced, and some of us are not that fortunate, but we're hopeful that our own mindset will change as parents, as our guest is alluding to. We'll be back, still more discussion on the Baroness. Don't go away.
You are not here.
You see a little chicken at 2 weeks is almost
Never
edible.
been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless.
Social workers, and basically
You
they
have
are
been
there to understand the
broken,
person,
your
how the
innocence
environment
stolen.
affects that person.
I
Why is
hear
that?
you whisper underneath your breath.
Doesn't know how to treat a woman.
I hear your
Because you already said, I said that to my daughter one day, that is this how you're going to cook for your husband or son? She looked.
I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true.
Stay tuned to the Baroness on PRTV Jos every Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it repeats on Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Cannot be covered.
The Baroness, changing lives a day at a time.
Having a very interesting discussion with our guest, DINAH Pam, and she's talking about accelerating teacher education on the plateau, and we have gone beyond teacher education to parent education as well. Because from the exchange program that she participated in, she had the privilege of going to the US and participating in teaching other children and learning other cultures and learning other teaching skills as is done outside Nigeria. And for us, we are doing the communal, teaching well. But sadly, the skillful teaching and the adaptation and the practical, I will score us -0 because it looks as if we're losing it. Once upon a time in primary school, I remember when we were doing arts and craft, you were actually doing arts and craft. But before you know it, when my children started going to school, they'll tell you to bring a broom. They'll tell you to bring a broom and bring tissue paper, and that's your art.
What did you do? Did you create it? You just bought it.
And arts and crafts then was something that was very, very simple. We used to go and look for clay. You make a clay pot, or you make something, you get wood, you put it together, make a little chair, or make a little
I remember my younger brother
You get papers.
Yes.
Yes.
You do a lot of things. You know, do paper
And that
mache.
way you're training the hands.
Exactly.
To learn to manipulate things.
No, but that is all good and well. At the end of the day, you know that this popular adage that teachers' reward is in heaven. A lot of people have argued that that is one of the reasons why the education system in Nigeria is perhaps failing, because teachers are underappreciated.
Exactly.
Do you actually think that there is some truth to that statement?
Yes. The truth is that in Nigeria, for a teacher to give his best, you have to be called. Now, it's not only pastors that are called. For you to give your best, you have to be, because if you are going to look at the reality of a teacher, the salary is nothing to write home about. So most teachers will prefer to use any time that they have to go and do other things that will augment their standard of living. But that is not an excuse, because if we want a better society, and we should look, as teachers, we should look at the teaching job as an opportunity to create impact. Because if we don't help these students to become who God wants them to become, and then they help the society to become greater and better, we are going to suffer it. As I am, anything can happen. I might fall sick tomorrow, and if I don't train my child, that child in my class to become a good doctor, it has a way of coming back to me. So we have to look beyond the instant gratification that we want, beyond the salary, and then let passion lead, let interest lead, let the desire to see change lead. That way we'll give our best. Because if we're going to look at the salary, in fact, the worst, going back to parents, is when parents come and then they make you feel like you're doing nothing. You just feel, what's the point? I've seen many good teachers resign. They actually have the passion, but when they look at the fact that they are not appreciated, even with just words of affirmation, the salary is something to write home about, they would rather go and do business to help their lives.
You know,
So, but would you say that this program has added something in you?
Greatly. In fact, at a point before I went, I was thinking, am I sure 15 years, I don't have a car, I don't have a house, am I sure I'm in the right place? But going there, I learned that it's not about it's not just about the acquisition of wealth. It's about a better society. It's about giving impact. So I've taught students, seeing a child come to the school with no skill, with no understanding, with no focus, no direction, and then that child passes through you and becomes somebody in future, I think it's a great reward. It's something that should motivate one to give his best. So I think I will still remain a teacher.
When you are like a drop in an ocean coming back, how will what you learned and experienced and everything in these 6 weeks will make a difference?
Before I came, I had, in fact, right from the interview, because to get selected, you go through a rigorous exercise actually to select. In Nigeria, we're only 5 that went.
You alone from Plateau, right?
From the northern zone. Yes. We had 1 from Enugu, then 2 from Lagos, and I think I heard that 1 is in Abuja, will be leaving in September because we have 2 cohorts. So I'm the only one from this side. Right from the interview, we were asked the question, how do we intend to give back? Because the major aim of this is for us to give back.
Exactly.
And then I mentioned that I will share through my post to inspire teachers, which I did. So I made sure that as I was learning there, not even wait for it to accumulate and then struggle to start looking which one I was posting. As I was inspired, as I was learning, I was posting, and many teachers were getting more awareness and making better decisions on how to improve their classroom, society, and all of that. And then also coming here is another opportunity. I'm sure that as the viewers are watching, some of them are teachers, some are parents, some are students, and they are learning to see, they are learning and they're thinking of ways that they can make teaching, even the young teachers too, they are learning to become better teachers.
I'm thinking,
yes, and I'm also thinking of doing a workshop actually. But this is a long-term project, so I don't want to talk too much because I just came back. I need to put things together. I'm thinking of doing a workshop on technology, actually, integrating technology in our teaching, because that was one thing I saw that was really profound. For me, before I went there, I was using technology as a teacher's resource, meaning I was using it to learn, to get techniques, to learn content that I would give out to my students. But going there, I learned that this technology is not just for the teacher, but it is a means that even the students can use to interact, especially as a language teacher. These students can use that technology to interact with language, to improve their communication skills. So I would like to do a workshop for teachers that will help them to integrate, not to be using technology only as their resource for their personal thing, but to use it, because we learned about learner-centered teaching. That is what is in vogue right now. So the teaching is supposed to be centered on the learner and not on the teacher. You know what we do most times, just rote learning, you just go and download everything that you have learned. But we want the students to engage with technology, to engage with life experiences in their community, in their culture, so that they can make sense with what they are learning. And I didn't want to talk much about that, because to do that, a lot will have to be put in place, you know, because the issue is that teachers have not, it's not as if teachers have not been trained on technology. Teachers have been trained. They've heard about ChatGPT, they've learned about Canva and all of those applications that they can use. The problem is that how many of the teachers can afford it? How many schools have these resources? If you remember last year, WAEC brought the idea of writing WAEC online.
CBT.
How many schools have the computer? And then if you look at those of us that are in the metropolis are crying, you can imagine those people in the rural area. So we have a long way to go. So when you teach, when you bring teachers and you train them on technology, the next thing they'll tell you is that, how do I practice this? No light, no data, no computer, so many things. So it's something that I really need to sit down and work out, and maybe I'll still come back to look for funds. You
know, this technology that you're talking about, it's quite interesting, you know, and I'm looking at it as an avenue to improve on the critical learning and critical thinking of the children, which sadly most of our schools don't emphasize on. But how can that work? Because our curriculum seems to be different, and such things don't seem to be embedded in our curriculum. So are you advocating a change in our curriculum to be learner-centered? Because it looks like the curriculum is not really like that.
To make our curriculum, I think it's okay. The issue is how it is delivered, just like I said earlier. And I think it has to do with how the teachers do the lesson, because to make our curriculum to be learner-centered, we need to decentralize our curriculum. By that, I mean, like in the US, there are 50 states. They don't have the same curriculum in each of the states. Yes, I was posted to California, so the curriculum of California is slightly different from that of Massachusetts, because their realities are different. Yes. So I am from Plateau State. We have issues of security. Our curriculum should be centered on the reality, which is security. We have issues about Plateau State is blessed with arable land. We should emphasize more on agriculture
in our curriculum.
Sadly, we only have agriculture as a subject that these children don't even know. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised that someone doesn't even know how they cultivate guaza. How they cultivate.
Even the Irish that
they don't know. Some of them have. Yeah, that child is the best in agriculture. So the problem is exactly we need to make it learner-centered by making it experiential. Let the students practice, just like we have said. You're taking agriculture, they should plan. We should look at the reality. What is our situation? We should teach them how to cultivate these crops and then market them too. That is one thing that we are liking. When I was coming from the US, I think I was from Abuja, I was in the car coming, and then some people were discussing, they were saying that Plateau State, it will really take the grace of God for us to have this business sense. And as a Plateau person, I was there, I didn't want to talk, but honestly, I saw some truth there. It's not something that we should argue. I think what that means is that we have the land, Some of us are trying, we do subsistence farming. We need to teach ourselves how to store these things, how to process these things. That is the business that we're talking about now. So that we don't just labor so hard and then we take it to another place. And when that is out of season, we start looking for the processed one that is brought to us from another place. So we need to make it to be learner-centered, relating the culture to the learner, let them see these things happening in their community. That way they learn to be, not only to be critical thinkers, but they are problem solvers.
Yeah, interesting.
You talked about incorporating technology. Now times are changing, especially with global best practices, the world adopting different measures to survive, especially in light of economic realities. Now, a lot of teachers seem to be stuck in one place. Stuck in the sense that they are not going forward, they are not going backwards, they're just stuck there. They keep teaching the same thing over and over again. How can they make teaching interesting? Because you know, a lot of students or a lot of pupils right now are easily distracted, sadly to say. So how can teachers be relevant in these growing times, this changing society?
I will encourage all teachers to not to teach alone.
Okay.
By that I mean we should have network that will support us and we get to learn other innovative ways of teaching. Because if we just remain that we have a certificate, I'm the best, I have a 2-1, I have a first class, and that is all, it will not sustain one. My 2-1 was how many years ago, and so many things have changed after that 2-1. You know, newer things are coming. By the time we collaborate, we network with other teachers, you discover that you are learning new things. Your classroom will not remain the same. So I encourage every teacher not to be conservative, rather be open-minded to learn new things and make judicious use of this technology, because honestly there are newer things. There are newer things in technology, and we don't need to. Sometimes, since we are talking about finance, sometimes there are some courses that require us to take these children for field trips, and then we are talking about finance. We cannot go there because of security. We cannot go there. We can use our digital knowledge to play a video where the students can see these things happening, and it will reduce stress for us, and it will make learning more concrete instead of just imagining how these things are done. So technology is very important, both for the teacher and even the students in learning.
So how do you intend to, I'm sure what you saw there, yes, you went to the US, you saw the schools, but I'm sure you saw something too about their government that allowed what you experienced to experience. So how do you intend to communicate what you saw to our government so that they will see the need to change one or two things so that our educational sector can be better? Not Nigeria. You talked about the fact that every state there was unique and they were doing things unique. Decentralizing our curriculum. I mean, like, as it is, Anita, I don't think that this curriculum needs to be changed. But when you come down to Plateau, there's an orientation you give to your teachers that is completely different because of the way that you know your state is. So how do you intend to communicate these facts to our government so they will see the need? Because you are now a change agent. I'm sure that was why they took you there, so that they will influence you. Yes.
I think one of the ways is through this program.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm happy for this opportunity because I believe that someone somewhere is watching and it's going to inspire some changes. And beyond that, I still want to, I'm already speaking with some government officials, starting from my local government. Starting, you know, charity begins at home, you know. Yeah, so I am already making some moves to see some people from there and to see how we can do some workshops together, do some trainings for teachers and even for students, and then introduce another thing that we call community learning. That was one thing that stood out for me there. And I like the fact that you were the one talking about that you, at a point before you were waiting for a child, you know, you were distributing some things. We need to have community service where we have advocacies happening. When there is a challenge, when there is a need, we don't have to wait for the government to do everything for us. Yes, like the issue of unemployment. We don't have to wait for the government. The community can do something. They can, just like I have come with new ideas, I can meet them, then we do like a campaign, making awareness on some of the things that we can do to improve our community instead of waiting for the government. This is part of the community service we're talking about. So it's not all about the government only, but everybody.
Yes. You know, initiatives like this Fulbright exchange program are indeed commendable, and I'm sure quite a number of teachers would want to key into that. You mentioned the fact that you were the only one from Plateau State, right?
Yes.
Now, it's a memorable, a credible platform that a lot of teachers in Plateau State, and we want to see a lot of teachers partake in such opportunities. How can they key into initiatives like this?
Interestingly, the program is an ongoing one.
Okay.
Yes, it has been on for going on, and while I was there, the application portal was open for teachers to apply, and I shared it on my Facebook page, telling teachers there was this opportunity that was going to. So many people did. Today she's been contacted for the interview. I think the interview happened this morning, and hopefully we are trusting God that she will be picked again. And so,
what's the criteria? Let's be specific. Is it for secondary school teachers, primary? Is there age limit or things to that?
Teachers, there is the one for lecturers in the higher institution. I don't know if there's another one for primary school, but I know there's the one for principals and then different programs. So the one I went, another one for primary school, but I know that is the one for principals and then different programs. So the one I went for is for secondary school. And then when I went there, we had people from as low as 26 years and then people that were as old as 50 years in the program. So I think it's something that is open to many people.
And it's online?
Yes, it's online.
Okay, register online.
Yes, you register online.
All right, so teachers should be on the lookout when you are on the internet. Please don't just concentrate on the socials, because there are lots of opportunities that you can benefit from.
You know, like typical Plateau person who doesn't like to go out.
Yes.
I mean, this is a Plateau blood. She accepted and she ventured into it, and she went
saw
out
the
there.
opportunity.
So,
you need
and
to
then
take
took advantage
opportunity
of it.
first.
Yeah, but the thing is, we do see opportunities.
But we don't think it's possible.
We say, can we go? Do we
And another thing that helped me was
we have that.
Another thing that helped me was that I was open. I was collaborating with different people, so I was extending my network. You know, I don't have to remain just within Plateau State. I'm using social media intentionally. Actually, on my Facebook page, I have teachers that are from Lagos, from different parts, and I'm seeing what they are doing. It is there. So look out for those opportunities and make sure that you extend your connections, please.
I'm sure you networked with a lot of people. Are you still collaborating with them? Those you met from across Nigeria and even beyond the world. So how is that network space going to help you advance more as a teacher?
Yes, we are sharing ideas with, I met teachers from 21 countries, just imagine that, so it's easy for me to network with any of them. And then even the school that I served, I worked with a particular teacher, because we were asked to write our interest, and then we were joined with a teacher that has our interest. So we're actually working together to achieve something that will help our students and give our students global awareness.
Well, that's quite interesting. All that we have shared, all that DINAH SIMI PAM has shared with us, it's gingerly some of us to go to the classroom.
Yes, you're welcome.
Can one be a tertiary teacher? Can one be a tertiary teacher?
Sure, you're welcome.
It's quite interesting when you see that there are opportunities that abound for you to make a difference. And if you have been thinking making a difference is something that is very tasking, our guest today has intimated us on how easy it is for you to make a difference once you key into opportunities as they present themselves. So for those of you who are looking forward to it, you say it's the name of the scholarship, the program, Fulbright educational program.
Right? Full and bright.
So Fulbright educational program. Just go online, log on, look for Fulbright, and you'll be able to get all the information that you need. And when the time is right, if you are a teacher, expand your horizon. Please don't be like that little fish in the well who thought that was the biggest space until he encountered an ocean. Encounter an ocean, and then you would be able to enjoy, the fellowship of other types of fishes, and of course all the space and the beautiful scenery that the ocean has to offer. We are hopeful that from one teacher we can get 2, 3, 4, and our entire educational system will be better for it. That is what we need on the plateau. Reintegration and using what we have to better our lives. Thank you so much, DINAH Simipam, for coming on the program. It's been a pleasure having you. And we look forward to the time that you'll be stepping down all this information so more teachers will benefit from it as well. Dates,
you know, when you take the teaching profession just like a stepping stone, I mean, like, let me teach. When I get a job, I'll quit. But when you take it as the job, you see opportunities. But if it's just a passing time, you will never, ever, you know, enjoy what is there, talk less of impacting lives. But take teaching seriously. It is a vocation.
Use technology wisely. Be you a teacher, whatever occupation you find yourself, use technology to work for you and not the other way around. Remember, we're streaming this on our YouTube and Facebook platforms. Just locate us on the BARONESS PRTVC. Thank you.